Peace, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be talking about a long-running franchise that had been on the air for over 40 years, and it was incredible, and it was a teen staple, and we love it, and it's one of my favorite shows, and it's called Degrassi. Now, I just want to point this out. This actually is going to be the start of my Degrassi videos. I am going to start doing Degrassi videos where, and I don't know if it's going to be where I make one long video about Degrassi or if it's going to be several videos about Degrassi. But either way, I'm going to start making Degrassi content because I hate to say it, but I think about Degrassi a lot. I rewatch the show a lot, and also I'm just a fan, so I want to talk about the show. I see other content creators and YouTubers talking about the show, so I want to talk about it, the characters, the plot lines, the whole 9 yards. I just want to talk about Degrassi. So yeah, this will be the first in my series of Degrassi videos. And today we're actually going to be talking about the new Degrassi documentary that's coming out September 13th at the TIFF festival in Canada. So yeah, it's not in the US yet. Hopefully after it goes to the festival circuit, it will come to like one of our streaming services, most likely HBO Max, just because Degrassi is on HBO Max. But you never know, it could go anywhere. So yeah, I'm really excited about this documentary. I'm also nervous. There's a lot of things that I think we need to talk about when it comes to this documentary and just what I'm actually want to see in part of this documentary and what I want them to address in this documentary. Because Degrassi, like I said, had been on the air for over 40 years, and it was a really, really good teen drama. And if it wasn't for Degrassi, there wouldn't be any Dawson's Creek, there wouldn't be the OC, there wouldn't be any Gossip Girl, there wouldn't be any One Tree Hill. You get it. There wouldn't be any of these like slice of life teen drama type of TV shows if it wasn't for Degrassi. Degrassi is the blueprint for so many things, and let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the documentary. Let's talk about what I want to see in the documentary, and let's just talk about Degrassi. So I don't know if you've seen the trailer for the documentary, and I'll actually play it right here, right now, so you can check out the documentary trailer.
I didn't have a great time in high school. I just didn't really fit in.
It took me a long time. Like, I had my very, very awkward, like, cocoon stage.
I went to a high school for the performing arts, and there was a notice about auditions for this new kids show.
And then one day, my mom called me and told me, "You got the role." And I just grabbed my bag and left. And man, what a wild journey that started.
A little Canadian series is shaking up the television industry. It's seen in 40 countries and won 7 international awards.
Thank you all for this award.
It is the longest running and most successful franchise in TV history.
What does this mean? Ribbed.
I watched an episode and was blown away. Oh my God.
When people talk about my old show on Dawson's or they talk about Beverly Hills 90210, they don't know that the big granddaddy is Degrassi.
Apparently the old Degrassi was like bare bones.
Wardrobe was a lot of our own clothes that were brought in.
We also had lunch duty where we helped with preparing lunch and doing dishes.
It was the 80s.
Hi.
All that stuff that happened on the show was stuff that was happening to us in real life.
I thought you said you knew how to drive.
Don't worry.
My character was a virgin. I was a virgin.
She had to be one of my first kisses for sure. Damn, I never thought about it like that.
It was kind of a whirlwind experience and probably like a bit out of body.
I knew that I'd basically be pushed out of the closet on television.
They were becoming real teen icons.
We love Degrassi!
I'm nervous, man. Look at all these people.
There's the fans waiting at the hotel. It's like, wait, reality check. What?
It was way too much pressure. Getting called a slut or trash. You know, there was a lot of hate.
He came from a very troubled background.
I'm sorry.
It was very difficult for some of us to just kind of find our way.
Sometimes you don't want to be known for Degrassi. And I think we all had that, where we're just trying to escape it.
It grew into an empire, and there are definitely individuals that have made money off of the empire.
Have we always got it right? Probably not. Have we told our stories with the best of intentions? Yes, we have.
Everybody wants something, they'll never give up.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of different people from a lot of different generations of Degrassi are going to be a part of this documentary. Now, if you're one of those casual Degrassi fans who maybe watched the show during its heyday, you know, the Next Generation heyday, where Degrassi was on the air and Degrassi was on the N in America, and you just watched it to a certain degree, to a certain point, and you kind of fell off, and maybe you haven't watched Degrassi in a long time, and you're kind of gonna watch this documentary for the nostalgia of it all, that's awesome. I just want to throw out here that there's going to be a lot of different Degrassi actors and actresses from various Degrassi shows that are going to be in this documentary. So this documentary is basically going to be a trip down memory lane. It's going to talk about Degrassi from its humble beginnings back in the late 70s all the way until Degrassi Next Class and everything that went into Degrassi, how it was created, you know, the storylines of Degrassi, how actors became part of Degrassi, like the whole thing, right? They're probably going to talk about, you know, character development, all of those things, right? And that's really awesome. But for those who don't know, because maybe, again, they're kind of casual fans, they haven't really watched Degrassi like that, they just know Next Generation and that's it. Degrassi started out in 1979 with a show called Kids of Degrassi Street. And then in the 80s, they would start off with Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High in the 90s, and then a TV movie called Degrassi School's Out. Then in 2000, they would create Degrassi The Next Generation. And then in 2010, they would rebrand The Next Generation into just Degrassi. And that would go on until 2014, 2015. And then Netflix would actually take over and they would create a series called Degrassi Next Class. And so yeah, Degrassi's been around for a long time. And so in this documentary, we're going to see a lot of different actors and actresses from all generations of the show. And so I'm really excited because back in 2021, so I am a big Degrassi Next Generation fan. I watched originally so I started watching Degrassi in 2004. So around the time that Degrassi season 5, Degrassi The Next Generation season 5 was going to be on the air, I started watching Degrassi. And I caught up with the show. Because, you know, back in the day, the N used to do this thing and it was called like the every Degrassi episode ever. And they would have like marathons of the show. And so I think I caught one of those and I watched and caught up with the show. And so then I ended up watching season 5. And by then, anyways, a lot of Degrassi was actually on the internet. And if you're a real and true millennial like me, you probably bootlegged a lot of things and pirated a lot of things. And so that's sort of, you know, how I watched Degrassi, as well as on the N. And fun fact, when JT dies, spoiler alert, not really, but when JT dies, I actually ended up watching it early because I had watched it from the Canadian, because Canada had showed the episode first. And then I ended up watching it again on the N, but I had watched it from the Canadian broadcasting of it, pirated, because they had showed it early. And I was such a fan. I was like, I need to know what's going on. And then I watched it early, and then, you know, JT dies. R.I.P. Jamie Siberius York. Anyways, so yeah, so that was how that all worked. And so I started watching it around season 5, caught up with the first 4 seasons, and then I would end up watching it until about season 10. And then I kind of stopped just because I got older, I wasn't a teenager anymore, and because I was doing a lot of other things in my life and I just didn't have time to really catch up with the show. So then in 2021, I was feeling really nostalgic because, you know, we're in the pandemic and I'm bored and I'm feeling really nostalgic. I'm also really depressed, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so I was like, let me just watch Degrassi. Like, let me finally watch the full series of Degrassi. Now, I didn't know this, and I don't think it was on the internet at the time. So I don't think that the Kids of Degrassi Street was on the internet at the time. So I was not able to watch it. But at the time, all of Degrassi Junior High, all of Degrassi High, all of School's Out, and all of Next Generation / Degrassi was on the internet, right? It was on YouTube. And so I was able to watch the entire series, right? Then I would go to Netflix and I would watch Next Class. And I caught up with the entire show. Now, I still need to go back and watch Junior High, well, Kids of Degrassi Street, Junior High and High a little bit more, just so I can, you know, familiarize myself a little bit more, because I've only watched it once all the way through. So I need to go back and watch it again. And then I also need to rewatch Next Class again, just because there's some plot points in there that I don't remember and all that stuff and whatever. But yeah, so that's kind of my whole thing with Degrassi. But yes, I have seen the entire series, minus Kids of Degrassi Street, which I still need to watch, which I think is now on the internet. I've watched the full thing. So I have a lot of extensive history with Degrassi, mainly Degrassi The Next Generation, because that was my generation, because I'm a millennial. And yeah, but I am so excited to see all these other actors and all these other actresses from various times on Degrassi talk about their experiences on the show. We just watched the trailer, and as you see in the trailer, we have Mary McDonald, who played Emma Nelson. We have, obviously, Aubrey Graham, who played Jimmy Brooks. We have Amanda Steptoe, who played Spike, Emma's mom, and also the girl who got pregnant in middle school. We also have Stephen Brogren, who played Mr. Simpson, aka Snake, aka Archibald Simpson. And we also had Sinead Grimes, who played Darcy on there. We also had a lot of different people on there, right? From various different, you know, generations. We had 80s actors on there. We had 2010s actors on there. Like, it was a lot. And I'm here for it, because I just feel like all of them need to be represented in this documentary. Because originally, I was a little nervous, okay? I was a little nervous. I was like, are they just going to do Next Generation and just ignore that the rest of the shows existed? Or are we going to actually talk about the 80s? Are we going to actually talk about Next Class? Are we going to actually talk about the 2010s era? Like, that's important too. And I know that the biggest focal point in this documentary is, of course, going to be Drake. And a fun fact before we even go any further, as a hip-hop head, as a lover of hip-hop, I am not a Drake fan. I do not like that man. Aubrey Graham and Drake, I do not like you. I think what Drake is doing with the lawsuits against UMG, Kendrick, whatever, is loser behavior. 10 out of 10 loser behavior. I think that it is loser behavior, because Drake, you know better. If you claim to be a real hip-hop head, a real fan of hip-hop, you would not go through with this. I personally believe that this is going to ruin hip-hop, and I don't think this is going to do any justice for anybody in hip-hop, okay? It's stupid, it's weird, and I don't like it. Plus, you lost the battle. Can we just move on? Can we just move on? Also, the rumors about, you know, young people, young women, children, whatever, yeah, they're there for a reason. So I just want to point it out and say that while, yes, Drake is a part of this documentary, Degrassi knows that they cannot not have Drake in this documentary for many reasons. But mostly because they know that Drake is their biggest from this show, and they know they can't just not have him in the show. That doesn't make any sense. And they know that he will get the most eyes on this documentary, and so they know to put him in there. Does that necessarily mean that I want to see him in there? Yes and no. When I look at Drake, I look at him two different ways. I look at him as the most annoying rapper, and he pisses me off, and I don't like his music, and I don't like who he's become, and I think he's a horrible person. But then I also look at him as, that's Aubrey Graham. that's Jimmy Brooks from Degrassi. And maybe my rose-colored glasses get put on, but I don't know how to not see him as Jimmy Brooks to this day. And I know it's wrong of me, like, hello, but I watched Degrassi when Degrassi was on the air. I watched the Jimmy Brooks era. I watched Wheelchair Jimmy, okay? It just is what it is. I'm always gonna look at Drake that way. I just can't help it. I don't know how to not. And when I look at him as Jimmy Brooks, it's not obviously Drake, it's Aubrey Graham. I don't know how to put it out there any other way, but I'm nostalgic and it is what it is. And I don't like to employ this card very much, but I'm about to do it. This is going to be an art from the artist type moment, and yeah, that's all I want to point out. Do I support Drake? No. Do I look at Aubrey Graham as Jimmy Brooks? Yes. Am I nostalgic? Yes. Sorry. Okay, so we got over Drake, and now we have to talk about Mary McDonald. Now, Mary McDonald, again, I said, was Emma Nelson. You know her, you either love her or hate her. Valid either way. I'm not the biggest fan of Emma Nelson, the character. She annoys me, but that's another topic for another day. You saw her in the trailer. You saw her face. A lot of people saw her in the trailer and they made these really rude comments about her face. I saw people making rude comments about her face. Like, I was on the Degrassi Instagram page, and also I follow this other page called Degrassi Throwbacks, and they post a lot about like Degrassi back in the day, like, you know, mostly millennial seasons, like seasons 1 through 7, and like they always are posting different clips from the show. Love that. 10 out of 10. I saw the trailer on both of their accounts, and guess what? The people were so mean to Miriam, and it sucked. Like, it really sucked. I feel really bad for her. And so I went to her Instagram account, and she put out this lengthy post, which I will put on the screen, of how she was feeling about this entire thing. And I just felt so bad for her, and I was like, that's not fair. And basically what she said was, you know, first of all, I'm not acting anymore. So these interviews were actually done about 2 years ago. And I had that feeling that they were done like a while ago, just because I remember Degrassi, the actual Instagram page, posting that they were putting out a Degrassi documentary like a while ago. And so I was like, when is this documentary gonna come out? Come on. And then they finally put out the trailer. So 2 years later. And so I was like, okay. So yeah, this was made like 2 years ago when she was interviewed. And she said at the time she, yes, did some Botox, yes, had some lip fillers. But if you look at her account, you look at some of the photos of her now in 2025, she actually looks more normal like she used to. And I guess it was like right after she had gotten the like Botox and lip fillers that she ended up filming the interview. And people had a lot of negative things to say about her, and she felt really bad about it and insecure. And then I actually ended up seeing this clip that I had seen before, because I remember back in the pandemic that Miriam and Cassie Steele, who played Manny Santos, had done like an Instagram live or something, and they were just catching up about the show and like whatever, and like just catching up with each other. And so they had been talking about like some of the impacts of the show, what were like some of their favorite moments on the show, favorite like storylines, like not favorite storylines, and all these different types of things. And I don't know if you remember, but Emma Nelson ended up having an eating disorder episode, or 2 or 3. And she ended up, you know, being labeled anorexic. And something I did not know, which she opened up about in this clip, which I guess I can post it. She talks to Cassie Steele about her sister, who had been battling her eating disorder for 15 years, ended up passing away not that far from when they had filmed the eating disorder episode, right? And Mary McDonald says that she was also dealing with an eating disorder at the time. And so she just feels like the episode was very much in poor taste and really wasn't done very well.
I think a lot of people would kind of expect that I would say, oh, maybe it was Emma's eating disorder episode. Truthfully, that one, I do not think it was done justice. So I can't even, that is such a massive issue for me. Fuck, I didn't think I was going to cry, but they know that my sister, I can't believe I'm crying in here. My sister passed away after 15 years with a very serious eating disorder. So I think that the small way that the episodes glossed over it were, in my opinion, almost a disservice, because it's such a real thing. And there's a spectrum where you can dabble in an eating disorder the way Emma did, and you fight your way back after a matter of weeks, and then there's a point of no return.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Yeah, I think that, I mean, for me, like, the hardest episodes I felt were the eating disorder episodes. And I think for the same reasons, you know, everything that was going on with your sister, and just knowing in our industry how many people that are sick that there are, people that are close to us. It was some of the hardest, I think the hardest episodes, because when people think about eating disorders and think about body image, they really don't see, unless you have someone close to you suffering tremendously, how bad it gets. And, you know, it was I think those were very tense episodes to film.
For sure. And I think, like, because now I'm voting, I feel like I owe it a little more of an explanation. Yeah, and I think, like, for those episodes, it's not something I've really talked about, my experiences in the early seasons with an eating disorder of my own that I thankfully was able to find the strength to battle back from. And it's not something I've wanted to talk about, just mainly because I in no way would ever want to glorify something like that. But yeah, I think that those eating disorder episodes, yeah, like, I just, having gone through it so personally, I just really wish that more could have been done with them.
Yeah, I agree. And it was such a hard time because, yeah, like, now that you said it, you know, at that time you were coming out of it. And I felt like, to me, I felt guilty and almost, like, upset with the writers for making you go through that when it was such a hard thing for you to come out of, and when you were already dealing with it with your sister. And I remember just feeling very tense and angry on set with, like, the writers for making you have to do this again. When it's like, when you come back from something like that, it is so hard to, anything can tip the scales, anything can move you in that direction again, as you know. And it's like,
and so knowing that information, knowing that people were making fun of her looks and what she was looking like in the interview is actually really mean-spirited, considering, hello, this person was going through a whole eating disorder back during Degrassi days, and she's probably insecure about herself a little bit, and she's just trying to figure out, you know, herself. And to make fun of her is really, 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 really rude. And another thing is, we don't know these people. And also, we need to be more respectful to people who gave their entire childhoods, their entire teen years to be on TV to entertain us. While these actors were on these shows, specifically Degrassi, and they were, you know, giving us these life lessons and talking about things that we maybe were going through in our own life, we don't know that these actors and actresses were actually going through these same things in their own life. And I just find it really rude and really disrespectful that people think it's okay to come on the internet and make fun of people who they do not know. And I just don't think it's okay. So yeah, I personally just think it's awful that people were really coming on the internet and talking about her. But I did see in her comment section that people like Lauren Collins, who played Paige Michalchuk, and even people like Degrassi, the actual Degrassi account, actually came on her account and were praising her, and you know, different people, Paula Brancati, who played Jane in the later seasons, well, not in the later seasons, but like season 8, season 7, season 8, who was like Spinner's girlfriend at the time. Yeah, it was just, it's wild that people think it's okay to come on the internet and make fun of people. It's just not okay, and it's not cool. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. I think Miriam's okay now. She sees all the love that people poured out to her, and I just think it's ridiculous that she even had to go through this, and y'all need to relax. Truly relax. Like, it's not that serious, okay? It's really not. We need to be more focused on the fact that these actors and actresses are still here and still okay and still alive to tell their tales, because a lot of actors and actresses are not, who were teen stars or child stars or whatever. Like, they are not here anymore, or they're in a very bad mental space, and they're not capable to tell their own stories. And I think it's really, really awesome that people like the Degrassi cast of various, you know, generations are able to still be around to tell their tales. So I just think people need to be a little bit more cognizant of that and not make people feel bad. You know, I'm actually, you know, right now in the middle of listening to Allison Stoner, their memoir. I've also listened to Britney Spears' memoir, Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, JoJo's memoir. And all of those memoirs just reminds me that we need to be way more nice and way more thankful to a lot of these child actors and child stars and teen stars who really sacrificed their entire childhoods and teen years to entertain us. We need to be a lot more grateful, and we need to be a lot nicer to these people, okay? Just remember that. Now, let's talk about what I actually want to see in this documentary. So, I know this documentary is going to be basically the cast of Degrassi of various generations talking about how they got on the show, maybe some storylines, their characters, whatever. And that's cool, and I'm here for all of it. But what I really want to see them address is some of their pitfalls. Because Degrassi wasn't perfect, and no show is, but I want them to talk about it and be really honest and open about some of the things they did wrong. And for me, as a Black woman, as a Black Indigenous woman, I want them to talk about how they treated the people of color on their show. 10 out of 10, okay? I don't know if you're a real Degrassi fan and you've been paying attention, but the actress who played Kendra, and I don't know if you remember her, but she was Spinner's little sister in like the third season. And she just got Degrassi black holed, which means that she just got, like, she was off the show and we never knew why. Like, we never got an end to her character. Like, her and Toby just broke up. Like, we didn't know why. Like, he just said they broke up over the summer. Like, she just dipped and we never knew why, right? And a interview came out recently of her, and I'll put it on the screen. But basically, she was talking about how she was basically bullied on the set of Degrassi. And I just think that's wild, first of all. Like, I don't know who was bullying her. I don't know if it was the producers or the writers or the directors. I don't know if it was the cast or the crew. Like, I don't know who was doing it, but I do know that's ridiculous, and that's real wrong. Real wrong. Because I know for like years there's been rumors that she like left the show because she didn't want to have sex with Toby, because they were eventually going to have her have sex with Toby, and she didn't want to do that. But no, she was actually bullied on that show. And that just brings me to a whole different conversation about the way that this show treated their Black characters and actors. We all know who Andrea Lewis is. She played Hazel Auden on Degrassi seasons 1 through 5. And to say that she was disrespected on Degrassi would be an understatement, okay? A full-on understatement. First of all, you gave her one storyline, just one, and it was her I'm Muslim storyline, pretty much. And we never talk about her being Muslim ever again. She gets with Jimmy, cool, I guess, and they're together, they do nothing, they break up with each other in season 5. That's it. Except for a very iconic part of an episode in season 4 when she basically tells Paige off, which is one of my favorite scenes.
9th grade. My date is orange and I'm sporting a screaming sunburn. 10th grade, our limo driver, Jim Boy Jed, the criminal, delivers us in a cop cruiser. 11th grade, it gets worse. Half whacked on painkillers, I arrive with a date who doesn't like girls on the special bus. Hello, everyone. Happy prom. Isn't this so perfectly festive?
Are you finished?
No, my armpits hurt.
More than your armpits will hurt if you don't shut your pie hole. I wanted this to be special for him, and all you can do is whine.
If the tantrum's been thrown.
One more thing. Manny stepped up and ran the spirit squad for you when you were too self-involved. All she wanted was a thank you. But could you give her that? Oh no!
She was horrible to me.
But can you tell me why you have to be more horrible back? Why you always have to be more horrible?
They don't give Hazel anything to work with. Like, literally, they give Andrea nothing to work with. And it really pisses me off to this day. I am so annoyed that they never gave Hazel anything to work with, okay? And then you have the way that Andrea Lewis was treated on set. And she's talked about this before. And not from the actors. The actors always have something sweet to say about Andrea. They love her. They're you know, they're friends. Andrea's always said nice things about them. It's great. But Andrea was pretty disrespected by some of the producers or writers on the show. And that just makes me mad. Also, there's a YouTube video that Andrea Lewis does with the actress who played Terry on the show. Yeah, they do a YouTube video together and they talk and reminisce about Degrassi. I think this was after the I'm Upset music video that Drake did, where he did like the Degrassi reunion. They talk about their time in Degrassi, how they feel about it, and everything like that. And I've seen Andrea Lewis going to Degrassi events, being on Degrassi Zooms, celebrating the show, all these things. So I don't think that she's like mad at the show necessarily. That does not mean that she should not have been treated with respect on that set and given more storylines. Point blank period, okay? And then you have my girl Liberty. I love Liberty. Most people don't, but I love Liberty, okay? Shout out to Sarah Bearable Tishauer, okay? DJ Me Time. Shout out to her. If you didn't know, Sarah is actually a DJ now, and an incredible human being, okay? She is pro-Palestine, she be standing up for stuff, she be out here talking about indigenous people. She just is a 10 out of 10 top tier person, okay? We love her. Also, they didn't give her enough storylines, and then they also made her the ugly duckling black girl. And I never liked that. I actually thought that was so disrespectful. Now, as somebody who is in my 30s and just now starting to embrace her natural beauty and also her cutie patootiness, I do get that Liberty, you know, and girls like her go through the awkward stage where they don't think they're pretty and they don't really know how to dress and they just are, you know, doing them. But Degrassi took it a step further, and there's this episode of Degrassi where Liberty starts to have like feelings or something for Emma's ex-boyfriend Chris. And Chris actually asks her out and she says, okay, yeah, let's go out. They're both black, by the way. Not that that matters considering, but I think it does anyways. But Emma gets word that Chris is trying to go on a date with Liberty and gets jealous. And Manny calls her out for it. And Emma says one of the worst lines in the history of Degrassi. And I hate her for it. And I will never forgive her for it. Roll the clip.
I'm not trying to get him back.
But you love him. I can see it in your eyes.
I never said that.
Okay, I'm totally confused.
I didn't want him to go on a date.
Because you're jealous.
Of Liberty Van Zandt? Yeah.
You're embarrassed?
You wouldn't be? What are people gonna think of me if Chris goes out with Liberty next?
That's the meanest thing I've ever heard you say. And that's really saying something.
In recent days, there has
Hey, Liberty, I think I'm actually voting for Alex today. You?
You're dead to me.
What?
Manny told me. Jealousy's really ugly, Emma.
No, Liberty. It's just hard for me letting Chris go, that's all.
Guess what? It's easy for me letting you go straight to hell.
all students are reminded to report to the gym for student council elections, not homeroom.
Emma, you are a disrespectful person, and you've been disrespecting Liberty since season 1, and I don't like it, and I will never like it. You are not a good friend to Liberty. Manny's a better friend to Liberty. You're trash. So, there's that. And I don't like the way they disrespect her. Then, Liberty finally gets with the boy that she's been dreaming of being with since season 1, JT York. They start having sex. She ends up getting pregnant, and JT, he acts stupid and dumb and whatever. And that's on JT, right? But by season 6, because after, everything, Liberty has the baby. They give it up for adoption, and that's that. But by season 6, what happens? The show decides to give JT a girlfriend. Oh, okay. And then they give him Mia Jones. Why, Degrassi? Yes, new day, new outfit. Sorry I had to cut that part of the video short, but new day, new outfit. And sorry in advance if the lighting in these videos and most of my videos are just not good. I live in an apartment with very bad lighting, so yeah. I actually do have a ring light, but I think my sister still has it. She was filming some stuff, and I forgot to ask for it back. But I need to start using that, so sorry in advance if my camera lighting and my lighting in my apartment is just not good. I'm so sorry. But where we left off was basically we're talking about Liberty and how, Liberty got pregnant and they had to give the baby up for adoption, but then they give JT a girlfriend in Mia Jones. Now, I don't know why Degrassi thought that was a good idea to give JT a girlfriend when they could just put him back together with Liberty. Like, they could have just had, Liberty was annoyed because JT wasn't taking her pregnancy seriously and had a whole OD. And then she basically thinks it over the summer, and JT and her basically come to an agreement where they are able to come back together and be happily ever after the end, right? Now, I don't know if we all knew that JT was gonna die when season 6 premiered, but I just think it's random that they gave him Mia Jones, because I know they needed a reason for JT to die, so they needed it to be the rival school, and Mia's from the rival school, and they're mad because JT is dating Mia, and Mia's from the rival school, and so blah, blah, blah type stuff, right? I get that's what they needed. Do I like it necessarily? No. And do I think it feels gross in the sense of Liberty? 100%. And the whole aftermath of this whole thing bothers me to this day, because Liberty's a great character, okay? And the way that they pretty Liberty up during season 6 to be this really beautiful character now, for some reason, at her birthday, they just Manny's giving her a little makeover, because she loves to give people makeovers, obviously. And she gives Liberty a makeover. And to be honest, I think in Manny's defense, she was doing it really earnestly because she's a good friend to Liberty. But at the same time, I think the writers were wrong, and the show was wrong for just assuming that you put some makeup on Liberty and you do her hair and bada boom bada bing, she's pretty. Are we in the 90s still? No. And this was in 2006, 2007. Please. So that's annoying. Then JT dies. So then in the aftermath, you have Toby playing with her heart, and not on purpose, because Toby was also grieving, so he was going through a lot. So he was trying to figure out whether to tell Liberty about, how JT felt about her, right? So that was the whole thing. And then you had season 7. And season 7, I think, makes me the most mad, is when the whole thing happens with Liberty and Damien. Now, Damien knows that Liberty and JT were a thing. I think he knows by now about Liberty loving JT, being in love with JT, knowing about her having his baby and them giving it up for adoption and that whole thing, and how traumatic and dramatic that must have been, right? So he just plays with her. He plays in her face. And like, it's terrible because when everybody finds out that Liberty and Damien are fooling around at prom, who gets in trouble for it though? Liberty. Like, they don't even look at Damien like, oh, he's the bad guy, all these things. No, they look straight at Liberty. And I get it, like, Liberty, you're supposed to be my friend, like, you're not supposed to, you know, be with my man, like, whatever, like, that's crazy. At the same time, hello, Emma. Do you not know that your friend, your so-called friend, is out here grieving? Your friend is out here grieving. Grieving the boy that you were best friends with, right? And you're not even going to have any kind of sympathy for her. And then it's not until the last, like, 10 minutes of the show where Liberty runs off during graduation, giving the graduation speech, because she's valedictorian. And Manny, Emma, and Toby, like, run off after her to, like, go console her and everything. It's the only time they ever, like, Liberty, it's okay, like, we're not mad at you anymore. Like, we were mad at Damien, but we're not really that mad at you, and all these things. It's like, Liberty is grieving her baby daddy and the love of her life being dead. And y'all don't care. Like, y'all were not there for Liberty at all the way you should have been. It was ridiculous. And it really made me mad. And then what made me even more mad is how they treated Liberty in college. Liberty goes to college with Manny and Emma, and it's not even Manny and Emma, but it's the college. Like, she's trying to get into the sorority, because, you know, during the Degrassi spring break movie thing that they had during season 7, you know, it's her whole thing, and she wants to go to this sorority because I think, like, it runs in her family that, like, her mom went to a sorority or something, and so she's trying to go to the same sorority or something like that. So in season 8, when they finally go to school, when they finally go to college, Liberty's trying to get into the sorority. And because the sorority is basically racist, and all they want is Liberty to be a part of the sorority for diversity. So basically, when Liberty starts telling her story about how she lost her baby daddy and that he was killed and all of those things, they just assume that she's from some, like, you know, underprivileged school that literally, like, she just had to claw her way up to the top, and that's the only reason she's there, and she's on some scholarship or something. And it's like, why would you do that to Liberty Degrassi? Why? Why, honestly? I want to know. Liberty of all people? Like, you know who Liberty is, and I know what you're trying to do, but, like, there are other characters you could have done it with. Like, honestly, other characters you could have done it with. And I didn't even like that storyline because there were so many other things you could have talked about when it came to racial injustice in the world. You could have talked about a lot of other things that weren't this, because this was just so, like, dumb. And, like, I know this happens at college all the time. Like, I'm not trying to say, like, it's dumb because it doesn't happen. It happens, obviously, but it's like, you could have just picked anything else. Anything else. Like, this is so petty and dumb. And especially to Liberty, who is still grieving. Hello. And so that really bothered me. And then you had Liberty's little brother, Danny, okay? And you have season 7. And they decide to finally do a racial storyline in season 7. They've had Degrassi since season 1, and they haven't done a racial episode about racism or any kind of anything, microaggressions, anything, when it pertains to their black characters. And so they finally in season 7 decide to do one. And it's dumb. It's stupid. It's juvenile. It's an episode that I could have seen in season 1 or 2, but by now you're in season 7, and there's so many other things you could talk about when it comes to, you know, anti-blackness. But you decide to go with the very annoying, you know, Danny and Derek and Peter, they're in this department store in the mall, and they're doing this school project with this girl, and she's also black, but that doesn't matter. And basically, Derek gets mad that Danny's getting attention from this girl, and so he decides to be annoying because Derek's annoying, and he decides to put like some kind of lingerie in Danny's bag, and then when he walks out, you know, he gets in trouble for it, and then of course the store clerk decides they're gonna racially profile Danny, and then when Danny finds out that it was Derek, he gets mad and isn't his friend anymore. Like, there are so many other things you just could have done. I don't, like, there's so many other, like, I get that happened, and I'm not trying to downplay these things. There's like, these things happen, obviously, like, hello, I am black. But I'm just saying, like, there were so many other, like, more important issues going on at the time they could have focused on than this. Like, it felt juvenile. So I was like, okay, yo, so you really don't care about racial issues at all when it comes to your black characters on Degrassi. Now, I will say, and we're going to get into the 2010s, because that plus Next Class, they do a bang up job of ruining any chance they had of doing any kind of good racial issue episode. But I have to go back to the 80s because there's this really important episode that happens in the 80s, and it's around, sorry in advance if you hear like random noises in this video. I'm gonna try to hide it when I'm editing, but my refrigerator runs, so sorry. Anyways, hopefully you can really hear me. But there's this character in the 80s, and he's in the documentary, and his name is BLT. He's awesome. We love BLT. 10 out of 10 for BLT, right? And so BLT is in so BLT is from the 80s. So he's in junior high and Degrassi High. And BLT has this episode during Degrassi, I think it's either Degrassi Junior High, like the last season, or it's either Degrassi High. But either way, I think it's Degrassi Junior High the last season, because in the last season, BLT and his like class, he's like the 8th graders class of, so by the time the last season happens, they're in like 9th or 10th grade. But anyways, they're still stuck at Degrassi Junior High, and so they have to take like some of their more high school classes at one of these other schools. And basically BLT's at this school, you know, he's just doing his classes, whatever. And I think at this time he's still dating Michelle, and there's a whole storyline between him, Michelle, and Michelle's parents, and now Michelle's parents are racist. But BLT gets called the N-word, like full stop. Like, they don't even just say like the N-word, they just say like the full word, and he gets called that, and he basically beats up this guy.
Something I wanted to ask you.
Hey, watch where you're going.
Why don't you watch where you're going?
Dumb nigger.
Wait, man.
Stop that! Break it up!
Stop that!
Drink it! Watch it! All right, you two. You're coming to the vice principal right now. You two.
I will say, out of all the episodes about race that Degrassi has ever done, and they have not done many, so obviously this is like, you know, whatever. I will say this is one of the best. I will. And it's coming out of the 80s, so that tells you a lot. But I think that's one of the best. Now let's get to one of the worst Degrassi racial episodes. So there's going to be 2 other episodes I'm going to talk about. So there's one episode that is in season, I want to say 14. Yeah, I think it's in 14. It's once Allie and Dallas start dating. And then Connor and Jenna are dating. So basically, Dallas is trying to get to Allie's science fair because Dallas promised Allie he would be her like partner in that, and so he tries to go. Connor's already going because, you know, he's really super smart, and so Connor and Dallas are in the car together because they're, you know, going to the science fair together, and they get pulled over by the police. Now, do I think that's a good episode? Partially. I think it's pretty good. I think that compared to like season 7 or season 8, when they had the racial episodes, I would say that it's better. Basically, Dallas ends up having this conversation because he gets really pissed. Like, he gets mad that this police officer racial profiled him and pulled him over, him and Connor. And Connor, of course, doesn't understand like what's really going on because he has autism, so he doesn't really fully understand what's going on. But like, Dallas is trying to explain to him, and like, Dallas is pissed. Like, Dallas is pissed off that he got pulled over, and so he's taking it out on like anybody and everybody. And at the end of the episode, basically, because, you know, Allie is a person of color too, she's Indian, so Allie's father ends up talking to Dallas about, you know, not letting it get to you and how you can like let this get to your head, but you shouldn't do that. And he also was racial profiled at one point, or like culturally profiled at one point, and, you know, it sucks, and, you know, I understand, but like, you can't let it get to you and all these things, and like wrapped it up in a neat bow like that. And I was like, I don't know, like, I kind of wanted to see like where this would go, like if we could see where like Dallas feels like, you know, I'm, you know, this like gets to Dallas, and he's just like feeling a lot about being like pulled over by the police. Then you have the worst, and I'm talking the worst racial episode of Degrassi history, period. Okay, so this episode comes in Degrassi Next Class, where friends, I wouldn't be friends with these people, but that's just me. You have a girl named Shay, you have a girl named Frankie, and you have a girl named Lola. So there's a couple of racial episodes, but we're going to talk about the most annoying one. So Shay, Frankie, and Lola are on like the volleyball team or something, and they are up against this other school, which we've never seen in Degrassi history, but whatever, who is this predominantly black school, right? And so basically, Frankie decides to be clever because she's trying to get back at the other team, and basically, you know, draws the girls as monkeys. Yeah, Degrassi went there. Yeah. And so Frankie tries to blow it off like, I was joking, you know, it's just a joke. I was just trying to get back at you for, you know, being, you know, such a good team or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the girls from the other team get pissed. They're like, we've been called monkeys before in our life. Like, we are not taking this, and we are not going to let you just, you know, come out here and try to act like this is okay. Like, this is not okay. And then they look straight at Shay. Now, Shay is a black character. She's the black girl. They look straight at Shay and go, and the fact that you're letting this happen, pretty uncool. You're supposed to be on our team, right? Like, you're supposed to be on our team. You're supposed to care about what's going on. Like, this is important because you're black too. And Shay doesn't understand that because Frankie's her best friend. Now, we already know Lola's kind of racist, and this goes back to another episode. Most of the Degrassi 100th episode, and a bunch of like alumni from Degrassi end up coming back for this episode. And during this episode, we have something where I don't remember what he ends up doing, but Lola's boyfriend, he's black. He ends up, and Lola is a white Latina, so just putting it out there. But Tiny, Lola's boyfriend, and who really wants to be with Shay, but you know, whatever. And Shay actually liked him originally, but then Lola ends up becoming boyfriend and girlfriend with him, and it's a whole thing. But like, it matters because I can't remember what Tiny does after we watch this episode, but Tiny does something, and Mr. Simpson like goes hard on him and like suspends him or something. And so He's not at school for a period of time. Lola ends up thinking this is really racially motivated, because it has to be. Like, why else would you do this to the black character? Like, whatever, this black student, whatever. And so she tries to do this whole protest, do all these things, whatever. But then Tiny comes and he's like, I never asked for you to do this. And this actually puts a bigger target on my back as a black man than what you think it's doing, right? And Shay tried to tell her that, but, you know, Lola's not the brightest bulb in the world. So this goes into Lola being ignorant and not listening to people when they tell you something is not okay. Because she tries to defend it too. She's like, Frankie didn't do anything wrong. Like, I don't really get it. I'm not understanding. And so Shay has to go home and talk to her parents about what happened. And she's basically like, Mom, Dad, like, is what Frankie did wrong? And then her parents are like, well, yeah, it's wrong. Like, it's wrong. I get it's your friend, but like, it's wrong. And so at the end of the day, Frankie ends up apologizing at the end of like several episodes. But what I don't like is that Frankie for so long does not take accountability for what she did. And what I don't like is that they try to put the pressure on Shay because she's the black character, that it's all her fault because she's friends with this white girl who's racist, right? And I just don't like the way that was treated at all. Not to mention, going back to Tiny, the way they treated Tiny in Next Class was trizash. So you have, and I don't know if it was just Next Class, it was probably Degrassi, like the 2010s series or episodes too, seasons. But the way that they make Tiny have to be in a gang. Now, Degrassi, what is up with that? For the history of Degrassi, you have not done this. And for some reason, you decided that in the 2010s or Next Class or whatever, you were going to have Tiny be in a gang. In a gang? Like, I get that his brother's name is Vince. Okay, and Vince is a character that ends up going to jail because of some things that happened with another character named Bianca. It's a whole thing. I get that your brother, and I get you don't maybe come from the most well-off circumstances, and I get that you also had another character named Zig be in a gang and all that stuff and try to get out and all that stuff and blah blah blah, and they're not coming from the best circumstances. I get all of that, but at the same time, you're doing too much, Degrassi. You're doing too much. Because making your black character in a gang is so stereotypical, it's disgusting, and I just didn't understand any of what that needed to happen at all, and what lessons that taught anybody. Except for that, you're stereotypical and that's not cool. And so, like, then it's not even just the black characters, because I just talked about the black characters. It's not even just the black characters, it's the characters of color. Like, it is literally just the character of color. Like, I already talked about Kendra, right? But then there's just the lack of POC representation in Degrassi. Okay, we get a couple of Asian characters like every couple seasons. Sure, that's fine. But they don't do anything. They literally don't do anything. Like, you had Kendra, okay? Then it takes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons for them to get another Asian character on there in Leia. Then you have Zane, who was Riley's boyfriend. And then you have Winston, who would come way later. And these characters just don't do anything. Sometimes they're boyfriends to characters, and that's fine. Sometimes they're girlfriends to characters, and that's fine. But once they're not girlfriend or boyfriend to a character, they literally have no storylines. Like, literally no storylines. And it's just, why, Degrassi? Why? Then you have, and I'm going to say this, and I don't know, because I've never really understood how to say her name, if it was Shantae or Chantel. I think it's Shantae, though. What is she, the longest running Degrassi cast member ever? Like, and I'm not saying like Mr. Simpson, like whatever. I'm talking about like a student, like the longest running student character of all time. Because why is she there during season 4 and does not graduate until season 11? B. Like, what is that, Degrassi? And then she has no storylines ever. Then she just ends up, oh, I'm the gossip. Okay, whatever. Then she dates Danny for like a season, and then that's it. That's it. And I'm just like, so yeah, I have a lot of feelings about the Black and POC characters on Degrassi. And this one takes the cake for me, being Indigenous myself. I think it's annoying. I didn't know this, and this is not part of my generation anyways, so I really wasn't paying attention when these episodes were on TV and whatever, because I didn't watch them when they were on TV. So I'm hearing all of this, hindsight. But I don't know if you guys remember the character Grace. She was like the alternative character. She was like the Ellie, Ashley, Jane character of like Next Class or whatever. So she, apparently her actress is First Nations, because they're in Canada. So First Nations, Native First Nations. And they never put that into her storyline. And I know that Grace is not supposed to be Indigenous, but she could have been, and that's what bothers me. Grace could have been Indigenous, and we could have gotten some really great Indigenous storylines, First Nation storylines, about what it means to grow up Indigenous in Canada. And we got nothing. Degrassi, you did nothing. Okay? Give us nothing, queen. Like, and this is the reason, and this is why I have a lot of issues when it comes to Degrassi and their POC and Black characters. It bothers me. It bothers me so much. And so that is one of the things that I really hope they talk about in the documentary, because only a couple of POC characters really get like the big push when it comes to storylines, meaning Cassie Steele, who played Manny Santos. She was Filipino. She's Filipino and white, I think, in real life. And then you have, obviously, Allie, and she's Indian on the show. And, Sav, her brother, and whatever. And so they get to have character, development. They get to have storylines. They get to have whatever. But, Hazel, Jimmy, Danny, Liberty, they don't get to have anything. They don't get to have anything. And it just bothers me so much. And so I hope that they really address this in the documentary, because, honey, I need to see it. I need to see them actually take accountability for their pitfalls. And this is a big pitfall for me and a lot of the Black and POC fans of Degrassi. Because I've seen it a lot, because I follow a lot of different accounts on Twitter who are Degrassi fans to this day, and a lot of them are Black or POC, and they always talk about the problems that they're seeing with Degrassi and the Black or POC characters, and the lack of accountability that they take when it comes to not giving storylines to certain people, and just doing nothing with these characters. And it's just really sad. So I hope that they address this in the documentary, because it is desperately needed for so many of us. Now, this one is a little not as important, but I still want to have them talk about it in the documentary, maybe towards the end. And they just end the documentary and go, and guess what? In 2026, we're going to be having a Degrassi reboot. Honey, a girl can dream. Okay, and I know I'm 33 years old. I know I'm old. But a girl can dream. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. Girl, grow up. You're 33 years old. Move on. But 2023, I don't know if you guys know this, 2023, they were supposed to have a Degrassi reboot that was supposed to come out on HBO Max. And we all got really excited as Degrassi fans. We were like, okay, we're back. And then they canceled it, and we were like, oh, we're not back. And I was so annoyed, bro, because I really wanted them to have a reboot of Degrassi. Now, I know this is for selfish purposes, and I don't care, but I wanted them to have a Degrassi reboot so they could fix all the problems that they left us with on Degrassi. Is that so bad? No, I don't think so. But I also really did want the new generation to have Degrassi like we did back in the day, because I feel like Degrassi is such a good teaching tool. And not to be that person, but this generation needs Degrassi. I'm just saying, not to be an old head and be like, you know, whatever. But this generation really needs Degrassi, because some of y'all are a little off the chain, and y'all need Degrassi to like help you understand like some of what you're doing is not okay, so please get it together like now. But no, I mean, I know teens are, you know, are gonna make mistakes, but I'm just saying, like, Degrassi taught us a lot, and they helped us with a lot, and, you know, it was what it was. But yeah, I just wanted them to talk about whether or not we're gonna get a Degrassi reboot. Fun fact, I actually saw a clip of, so there's this convention called Nostalgia Con, and they have it in different places, but I think this year they had it in like Houston or somewhere. They had it in Texas somewhere. And some of the Degrassi actors were there at this con. I think it was Shane Kibble, who played Spinner Mason. They had Mike Lobel, who played Jay Hogarth. And they had Melissa McIntyre, who played Ashley Kerwin. They had ended up going, and I think last year they had Sarah Bevel Tishauer was there last year. And Pat Mastriani, who played Joey. I think he was there last year. Maybe he was there this year too. I don't know. But my point is that they had them. They were at this Degrassi panel. They were talking about Degrassi. And then somebody asked about reboots. And Shane Kibble just basically says that, oh yeah, Jimmy, you know, Jimmy Brooks, you know, Drake, you know, Aubrey Graham. Yeah, he is going to be producing the new Degrassi reboot, or bringing the Degrassi reboot to life or something. And I was like, interesting. Now, there are people in the comment section of that video, and they were like, Drake does not need to be doing this. He needs to stay far, far, far away from kids media. He needs to take a million steps back, restraining order, all of these things, right? And I was like, valid. Also, I see what Drake did with Euphoria, and Euphoria is a very different medium. It's in the same vein, but very different medium. So I see what he did with Euphoria. And I don't want to say that he would do the same thing with Degrassi, because I think being an actor on the actual sets of Degrassi, he would understand that Degrassi and Euphoria are two different separate things, and he don't need to bring in that energy to Degrassi. On the other hand, we wouldn't know what a Degrassi Drake reboot would look like, you know? Based on what we got from the I'm Upset music video, where he basically did a high school reunion and he brought back like almost the entire cast of Next Generation for this, you know, music video, maybe it'd be like that. We don't know. We just don't know what it's gonna be and what it's gonna entail. So yeah, I don't know what that would entail, but I also know that I want a reboot real bad. I just do. And I know I sound old as hell, but I'm old as hell talking about Degrassi on my YouTube channel, so sue me, I'm nostalgic. But I want a reboot real bad. And I also want a reboot just so, again, we can fix all the problems that Degrassi left us with, including why Emma and Spinner got married, and bringing Emma and Sean back together and bringing me to my final closure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, yeah. But also, I only want it if Linda Schuyler is going to be a part of it. So if she's not, count me out. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We'll see. And I guess lastly, I just want to see like who's going to be a part of this documentary. I know in the trailer that we watched that a bunch of different actors and actresses are going to be a part of this documentary. I've already talked about, you know, Mariam McDonald and Aubrey Graham and Amanda Steptoe and Stephen Brogren, Deo, I forgot his last name, but he played BLT, and the 80s version is going to be on there. Shanae Grimes, Stacey Magicians is going to be on there. I'm so sorry in advance, but I'm going to totally forget your name. But the girl who played Allie is going to be in there. The kid who played Tristan from some of the later seasons is going to be in there. And I think some of maybe like the crew is going to be on there too. So like some of the makeup people, or like the wardrobe people, or like the producers or writers or whoever going to be in there too. And of course, you know, Stephen Stone's going to be in there, and Linda Schuyler's going to be in there, and R.I.P. to Kit Hood, who was one of the original creators of Degrassi with Linda Schuyler back in 1979, and was one of the producers of Kids of Degrassi Street, Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, and Degrassi Schools Out. So R.I.P. to him. He would have been in the documentary, obviously. But I just want to see if anybody else from like any generation is going to be a part of it. So I'm hearing that the twins, and you might be wondering like what twins, but like the twins from Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi Schools Out, the twins are going to be a part of it, but that's hearsay. I don't really know. But some other characters I would really like, or actresses that I really want to see on this documentary are, of course, Cassie Steele needs to be a part of it. Manny was iconic, and we need her in this documentary. Hello. We need Lauren Collins, Love Page, okay. We need Marco Del Rossi, okay. We need Adamo Ruggiero to be a part of this. We need Joey. Of course, we have to have Joey in there. Oh, and I forgot to add that that Jake Epstein, who played Craig Manning, is going to be in the documentary as well. But no, we need Joey, obviously, because if we're going to have, you know, Stacey Musician, who played Caitlin, in there, we also need to have Pat Mastriani, who played Joey, because he was an iconic character as well. And who else? I would love to see... I know a lot of fans, they were all in the comments, and they were talking about, where's Eclair? There's no Eclair representation here. And I was like, relax. Maybe they're gonna show up. You never know. Aslan and what's his name, who played Eli? They're all gonna be a part of it. Maybe, probably. Who knows? Maybe they won't. We don't know. They were pretty iconic characters, so maybe they'll add them in. We don't know. And then yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe... I mean, it would be really, really nice to have Ryan Cooley on there to talk about, you know, JT's death and how that impacted him as an actor, but also his character and how the fans reacted and all of that, and how we are still so devastated by your death. Oh my gosh. And like, I know that Drake is going to talk about, obviously, the shooting. So we need to have Ephraim, who played Rick. We need to have him in the documentary because that's one of the most iconic, you can laugh at it now, but when it came out, this was one of the most iconic storylines of Degrassi ever. Okay? The shooting. Time stand still, part 1 and part 2. Alright? I would love to have Danny Clark in there. And I know, you know, Danny Clark is both attached to and detached from Degrassi. He wasn't even in Drake's music video, neither was Ryan, so that's awkward, but maybe he'll end up in it, we don't know. But I would love to have him in there and to get his thoughts on why his character did not end up with Emma. Like, what? Obviously, you know, Shane Kipple, all he talks about anymore, and that was Spinner Mason, all he talks about anymore is Degrassi, so he needs to be in the documentary. Hello. And he's an iconic character anyways, and went through a whole lot on that show, so he definitely deserves to be in the documentary. Mike LaBelle, Jay Hogarth, iconic, he should be in there too. I would love Liberty, you know, Sarah Bella Letitia to be in it. We do get the actress who played Adam in the documentary, so that's 10 out of 10, because I actually want to hear how the actress who played Adam feels about how they killed off Adam, because I have strong feelings about it. Being the only trans character on Degrassi ever, I have strong feelings about it, and I don't feel like they did Adam any justice by killing him off. I think that was disrespectful, and I think they could have done anything else to take Adam off the show without killing them. It feels real disrespectful, but anyways. And yeah, I'm trying to think of any other like really iconic characters that need to be on the show. But yeah, I can't really think of other one. I mean, I would love Andrea Lewis to be on there just so that she can talk about the racial aspect of Degrassi and how they fumbled the ball with that big time. Because I feel like they won't talk about it if she's not there. Yeah, I think, you know, whoever they have on the documentary will be great, but those are some of the ones I actually want to come back and be on the documentary to talk about some of these issues. But yeah, I'm excited either way. I cannot wait for this documentary to come out. And I don't know when it's going to start showing in the States. I have a feeling it'll be on HBO Max whenever it does come to the States. That or Netflix, we don't know, because they both have Degrassi on their platforms, so we never know. It could be either one. But yeah, I'm just excited for this new Degrassi documentary. I'm excited to see it, you know, get more attention for Degrassi, and maybe that'll give us a reboot. Cross our fingers. But no, I am just excited for this and to get some more behind the scenes, you know, commentary on the show. And so yeah, I will definitely be watching when it comes out and see if it actually addresses any of the things I wanted them to address. And if not, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, I'm just excited for any Degrassi content. And will you be watching this Degrassi documentary when it finally comes to the States? Or wherever you are in the world. You might be watching this from Canada and it's already, you know, going to be out in Canada because they're doing it at the festival. And if it does well at the festival, they'll put it on streaming. So maybe they'll do it in Canada first. We don't know. But for my people in the States, are you excited about seeing this Degrassi documentary? What do you actually want to see in the Degrassi documentary? And yeah, all of Degrassi, every single iteration of Degrassi is on YouTube except Next Class, which is on Netflix. But I think, if I'm smart, I think that somebody actually put some episodes or all of the episodes on YouTube somewhere. You just have to search them. But yeah, go watch Degrassi, go relive your teen years, and go watch one of my favorite TV shows, and get ready for some Degrassi content coming your way very soon, about the characters, the relationships, the storylines, everything. So yeah, this has just been me talking about Degrassi for a very long time, and I could talk about it more, but I'm gonna stop here. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Peace.